Welcome to episode 226 of the Reptile Gumbo podcast. It's been a month
Whoop, whoop.
since we've been live.
Yeah.
Oh, it's been a crazy month too.
It is.
I'm home.
There's a lot that happened in a month.
There's so much.
Let's go over a few things real quick. One, Robert and I went through a hurricane. Katie doesn't get to claim that. She was out of state.
It's not like I haven't done a bajillion before.
Doesn't matter. You weren't here for it, and it sucked. It was.
No, I'm sorry.
It was probably the worst category.
A bunch of hurricanes, and that was the worst experience I've had.
It's the worst category one I've ever gone through.
I'm not gonna lie, I hate that y'all.
I've been through
here to help.
I've been through several ones, and I get it. It's done by wind speed, but holy shit, that thing was. There's not a. I don't think there's anybody in our neighborhood with a functional fence the day after that.
No.
And the only ones
Still.
that currently have functional fences are ones that fix them themselves because they own their house and they're not renting.
It's true. Almost every roof in our neighborhood is getting redone. So yeah, there was the hurricane. That was rough. We got through it. Robert went for like a week without power.
You went longer than that.
8 days.
8 days without power.
Oh, I don't know why I thought it was closer to 2 weeks.
Mm-mm.
Then we went on a trip to the mountains after Katie and Joe were done with their summer camp. We went up to the mountains with my parents. That was fun. I caught a smallmouth bass for the first time. I caught a red-tailed creek chub for the first time. I caught a red-eyed bass for the first time. I did not catch trout, even though I thumped them on the head multiple times with baits. Apparently, according to everybody up there, the trout were not eating while I was up there, and I've never caught a trout. I still have never caught a trout.
Yep. We went hiking.
I watched my camera on my snake the entire time because she was due that Monday. I left on Friday. 105 days post shed would have been that Monday. So I watched, and then we drove the entire 16 hours or whatever.
So it's only a 15-hour drive from where we were in the Smokies to our house. However, your dad had your mom's car keys. That added almost 2 hours to our trip.
We got an hour and a half away from the cabin, and then we'd turn around because my dad, who we were taking back home, had my mom's car keys. So we had to drive back and meet my mom and give her keys, and then drive back to go drop him off in Alabama.
So that added 2 hours to our drive.
And then we made the whole way.
And there was the only other hiccup we had was where we were diverted off the interstate. We even texted Robert and was like, hey, do you hear anything on any of your chatter things that you listen to? I still never found out why that entire section of the interstate was closed.
But we got back on that Saturday at 1 in the morning, passed out. And then Sunday, the one thing that I've been waiting for months and months and months, my boa finally had babies.
Yep.
Anybody that's on our Facebook page or our Discord or within 1,000 miles of this house knows that happened. I'm telling you, I can't help it. If I ever have a litter of babies born and I don't lose my shit over it, I need to just get out of doing this.
I agreed with James that if he drove the whole way home, the last part, since I drove that morning, that I would unload the car the next day and he didn't have to help at all. So he was in the house and I was unloading the car, and Joe had started helping me unload the car. And all of a sudden he opens the front door, screams the word babies. And then I lost my helper and had to finish the car by myself.
Nobody's happier that she waited till you got home than me.
Yeah, because Robert was the one on call. If it happened, he was going to have to drive over here, possibly by himself, after never dealing with a 7.5 foot pissed off boa or babies or the goo that comes with it and separate them out. So he luckily did not have to do that. She had 27 live babies and 1 stillborn.
Craziness is what it is.
Was
craziness.
An insane size litter. It was I think I've talked about it before, but she was a motley, now proven het albino, call albino. And my male is a now proven super sun glow. Even though some Facebook expert in some group wanted to tell me not a super, I'm like, well, everything in there is hypo, so that's how that gene works. But it was fun. They're doing well. We've had one hiccup. One of the babies, a day after, its eye basically popped out of its head, and it's now sitting outside of its head. It's lost. It's going to be gone. But I mean, eye problems are something that comes with all albinos. I thought I was lucky. I didn't have any this time. For some reason, after about 24 hours, it came out of its head. So it's alive. It's fine. It's doing fine. Just has this eye sticking out of its fucking head. But it is one of the things that happens with call albinos. It is. We've talked about it before when we had Travis on here. He explained the whole genetics behind how it works. That's his job. I'll get him on again at some point to explain it again, to update people on why eyeballs pop out of snakes' heads. But all the other snakes are doing well. They're all the way I always do is I keep them all together for the first shed. And once they shed, they go individual, which fucking 27 individual tubs. I got to figure that out.
Are you done with snakes?
Am I done with snakes?
Because in non-snake news,
Was there non-snake news?
there was. Robert has a new friend.
That is true. Tell us about your new friend.
Tell us about Sheldon.
A lot has happened since last time we were live.
Yeah, the day before the hurricane, I got a message from a friend that they had these 2 pugs that were abandoned at a Petco or PetSmart, I don't remember which, up on 45 in Cypresswood. So I told him I wanted one of them, and I went up there and ended up, there was a male and a female. The male was as black, and the female was like a standard fawn colored, and I wanted the male. So I got him and named him Sheldon, and he has been glued to my side ever since now, 3 weeks Sunday. And it's been awesome. I really enjoyed having him. He's currently laying in his open kennel, chewing on something, hopefully something he's supposed to be chewing on. James is also chewing on something.
Yeah, and helping me with something too. I was not prepared prior to the podcast starting, and I need a different plug than what is available. So he's helping me out with that. I'm trying to multitask because we both have to go back to work tomorrow. So
I didn't realize y'all were going back already on the 1st.
I know. The kids don't come back until the 12th and 13th, but teachers are back tomorrow. And so I'm trying to be productive.
Okay. The cluster's over.
So thanks. Appreciate you.
So Sheldon is awesome. I've seen Sheldon. Fun little puppy.
I know we haven't met him yet, but Joe and I are both super excited to meet him.
He's like Robert's shadow now. If
I love
Robert's shadow was a small pug.
I show her pictures all the time.
Anything else? The boas were the big thing. That was my big thing. Was the babies finally came. It's funny. You post a picture of babies in a boa group, and you immediately get messages and replies going, how much do they cost? I'm like, dude, they haven't even eaten anything yet. Calm down. They're not for sale until they eat.
We've had friends. Look, they're Sheldon. We've had friends message us like, hey, can you put me on a list so that we can get like first dibs? And we've had like complete strangers message us, and we're like, okay, we don't sell things brand new. So you're going to have to wait till like October. But
anyways, want to go ahead and do sponsors off?
Sure. Set my dinner down.
I'll go to do herps real quick. For those of you that have been following the show, the last 2 episodes were herps show that we did the Conroe. We did last 2 episodes were part 1 and part 2. So I hope you enjoyed those. And then the one before that was our tribute to Tom Harvard. So that was sad, but I hope everybody enjoyed getting to hear him again.
Absolutely.
He was awesome. You want to go ahead and do yours, and then I'll do herps?
Sure. We have Lil's Shop of Horrors, which operates a commercial feeder breeder facility based out of San Antonio, Texas. They specialize in rats, mice, dubia roaches, Madagascar hissing cockroaches, and more. And as feeder breeders, they focus on the nutritional needs of the animals that consume them. There is nationwide shipping available on live insects. And if you're looking for frozen rodent shipments, you need to reach out to check availability in your area. They do weekly meetups throughout South Central Texas and are aiming to expand those meetup locations. So be sure to follow them online and keep up to date on their schedule. Feel free to reach out to them on any of their social media pages at Lil's Shop of Horrors, or email them directly through their inquiries page on their website, lilsshopofhorrors.com.
Go check him out. Lewis is an awesome guy. He's expanding. I was talking to him today. He's got more racks, more mice. So business is going well. He's getting more and more. So check him out. Also, Herps Reptile shows. Upcoming reptile shows, Oklahoma City, Oklahoma, August 3rd and August 4th. We're not going to that. That's the other side of the world. We're not going to the other side of the world. I've been to Oklahoma once, well, twice. I'm good. I've seen it.
Yes.
I can't imagine.
Times.
Corpus Christi, Texas, August 10th, August 11th. Bryan College Station, August 17th, August 18th. Baton Rouge, Louisiana, August 24th, August 25th. Then back up to Conroe, which we'll be at. We'll have a table there doing this whole thing. September 14th, September 15th. Then Belton, Texas. That's over by Waco, right?
I think so.
It is.
That's October 5th, October 6th. And then Rosenberg, Texas. That's our local show. It's just south of Houston, Sugarland area. So that is November 2nd, November 3rd. I'm on a wait list for that one because I may have boas ready by then. So
I'll be out of town that weekend.
Well, I will not.
I'll be at the festival that weekend.
At where?
The Renaissance Festival.
Oh, that'll be fun. Big boob women and turkey legs.
Turkey
Yeah.
legs.
Sounds like two things I'll enjoy.
And then Sulphur, Louisiana is November 9th and November 10th. Remember, that's the show that replaced the Lake Charles. It's like replaced. It is the Lake Charles show. It's like 5 miles down the road or whatever. But Sulphur, Louisiana. So that is the upcoming herb shows. Go check them out. Also, VivTech products. If you are looking to get a UVB bulb, don't go get those curly bulbs or the fluorescent. Don't do that. And don't go pay for that other brand. I'm not going to say the name, Arcadia. Do VivTech. The last live show we did, I think, was Ryan and Erica from VivTech for an LED UVB bulb. Check out VivTech products. Use code GUMBO22. Save 15%. They will last you 4 years plus and still give out the same amount of UV they gave out on day one. I can tell you, I took a picture of the day. I got to post it. We have Katie's animals still at a house until school starts, and then the animals go back to our classroom. But her box turtle is just up on a log underneath the light, enjoying the UV light. So get your LED UVB bulbs from VivTech. What were you saying, Robert?
My 2 redfoot tortoises every day. They come out in the morning. I feed them. And then when I get to work, I'll usually check on them around 10 on my camera that I have in their enclosure. And they're both laying underneath the UV with all 4 legs out and their head out.
So use code GUMBO22, save 15% on your order. Go check out VivTech products. Great folks, great products. I think that's it, right?
I think so.
Anybody got anything else to add before I bring in our guest? You said to sit through our whole.
I'm sitting away so I can eat dinner.
I'm just going to eat right in the microphone.
No, you are not.
Katie's favorite thing is
you are not.
Oh, also, Robert and I went and saw Deadpool. Just not our reptile related, but you should definitely go see Deadpool if you're out there. Go see Deadpool.
It's the best Marvel movie ever.
It's amazing. He's Marvel Jesus.
Jesus.
So, all right, let's bring in our guest. Our guest tonight is Trey Hall from Cold Blooded Caffeine. I almost messed it up. How's it going, Trey?
Hey guys, how's it going?
Good. Excuse us while we stuff our faces.
No, you're good.
So I told Trey before we got on, I had first heard of him, now I guess 2 years ago, when Snake Discovery went there and they did a tour of the facility and all. I didn't realize it was that long ago. And then I've started to see other people that we know in the hobby having their private label. And then our friend Corey Martin has got a new private label coffee coming out from y'all. And I thought, well, need to have y'all on, talk about that and talk about the conservation part, but really talk about how you make soup out of coffee beans, because it's all it is. It's just soup. You can call coffee whatever you want. It's just bean soup. Enjoy your hot bean soup with caffeine.
Fair enough.
Every morning.
But so I guess Trey, tell us kind of like the brief history of how y'all started what you're doing, and then we can kind of get into the coffee part of it, how it's made.
Yeah, so there's 2 sides of Cold Blooded Caffeine. So I'm Trey. I do most of the roasting and the coffee side, and then I have a business partner. His name is McKendrick. So he's been around at trade shows and stuff. So if you see him, he does more of the sales and the outside of the office stuff. So we met in non-reptile, non-coffee world. We were actually both working in automotive manufacturing back in like 2012, 2013 timeframe. We actually were working at the same company. We worked together for about 8 years, somewhere eight or 9 years together. And then he actually went to another job, and then I quickly followed. And so totally we worked about 12 years together at 2 different companies. My background is, like I said, automotive manufacturing, focused on account management, customer service, demand planning. His is supply chain operations, logistics. And we had always been interested in starting a business, but we didn't really know what we wanted to do. So we were kind of tossing around a bunch of different ideas. I had been keeping reptiles for a long time, since college. And then, I had, a little breeding business that I'd go to the local shows and do that. But I knew that I wanted to do something more as like a consumer product. So we looked at a bunch of different options. And one day I was in a grocery store looking at a bunch of different coffee. I was always a coffee nut. I was the guy with the French press in the break room, at the factory, making coffee. And everybody would pick on me and then say, "Hey, can I get some coffee?" As soon as they were done picking on me. So, I was always interested in coffee. I was in the grocery store one day and I was like, do I want a Brazilian coffee, or do I want a Colombian coffee, or do I want to, in all these different countries? And I was like, man, I've got Brazilian rainbow boas. I've got red tails. I've got tortoises, redfoots and stuff like that. And I've got all these animals from all these different countries that grow coffee. That's interesting. And I was like, maybe that's something to look into. And so I did some research, and, kind of the first few things that popped up were like specialty coffee. There were studies that showed that specialty coffee actually increases biodiversity within those areas. And I was like, oh, that's interesting. Okay, let's dig a little deeper. And every time we pulled up something, it was pro for environmental conservation and reptile biodiversity. And I was like, man, this is perfect. This is awesome. So we launched it. We actually did our first show March 10th, 2022, and literally sold out of every bag that we had. It was a great reception. I drove back home. So we're based out of Charleston, South Carolina. So I drove from Tinley Park to Charleston all by myself, just stewing on the success of that weekend. Got back home, put in my 2 weeks notice at my job the next day, and then went full time into coffee roasting in April of 2022 and been doing it ever since.
That's awesome. So did you originally start like with your partner on, or did you like bring him on later, or?
Yeah. So we started the business together, but I started full time first.
Gotcha.
So
that makes sense.
We didn't feel like there was a need for two people to go full time right at the beginning. So he continued his 9 to 5 while I did it full time until I believe it was July or August of 2022. So it wasn't too long afterwards that the demand showed that, yeah, we need two full-time people doing it.
So I don't know if you know this or not. James and I are both school teachers, and my co-teacher, my partner that I teach with, we share classes. There's always been someone on staff who's a really good friend of hers, and who makes her an iced coffee every afternoon. So she has her coffee that she comes to school with. Mm-hmm. She drinks water through the afternoon, and then at like 2:00 in the afternoon, she gets a nice coffee. Well, that friend who makes it every day is going out on maternity leave. Oh, and I was like, so I need to learn how to make iced coffee because I will totally get on this train. And she's like, I bought a machine. It's going to do it for me. Don't worry. I'm like, okay, thank God, because you're the mellow one in our relationship, and I need you to have your coffee. So you stay the mellow one. For sure. But she was real excited. When I told her that we were having you on tonight, she was like, I have so many questions. I'm like, text me your questions and I can ask for you.
For sure. I'd be happy to answer.
But as a teacher of someone, I am actually, neither one of us are real big coffee drinkers. I'll drink it more than James will, but I don't like have to have it to survive every day.
I promise it doesn't do anything. If it did something for me,
you're right.
Caffeine did anything. It's not even like,
it's just caffeine in general. It does nothing to
I can drink a Monster or a Red Bull and take a nap. Like, it doesn't do anything.
Yeah.
So it's lost me.
I've been working since 7 this morning, and I'm still at the office, still drinking coffee. So
yeah,
I like coffee.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't ever drink it. One, because again, I put so much sugar in it, and being a diabetic, that's probably not a good thing.
Yeah. See, and I've often wondered if it's the caffeine in the coffee that gets me, or the amount of sugar. Because like if I get something from a coffee shop, it's going to be something chocolate, and it's gonna have probably way more sugar than coffee. But
I won't hold it against you. It's okay.
Yeah.
Robert drinks coffee. He'll be our coffee.
I'm ordering some coffee as we speak.
Yeah. Yeah, he's our coffee person for sure.
I'm looking at the Boland's brew.
Okay. Yeah.
So how do you come up with your flavors and your like mixes, or is that a trade secret that you can't tell us?
No, for sure. So like you mentioned before, we do work with some other breeders within the reptile world. And so we, in large, let them kind of drive the direction of where they want that coffee to go. So like, for instance, I'm trying to think of a good example. So Ari with the Boland's brew, we did a Papua New Guinea coffee, right? Because obviously that makes sense, right? Boland's are from Papua New Guinea. So we directed that one towards the Papua New Guinea because I think it makes sense. Others we do people's personal preferences. So like you mentioned the Snake Discovery coffee that we did with Emily and Ed. We wanted that one to be an approachable coffee that was something that a lot of people who maybe either on the younger side who are just getting into coffee might enjoy, or something that's not going to be too polarizing. So we went with just a medium Colombian. And so, something that's not going to be too different. Personally, if we're doing like single origin blends, single origin is like from one farm, from one estate, from one producer, right? So single origin coffee. If we're doing something branded for cold-blooded caffeine, I tend to like things that are a little bit on the lighter side, and Central or South American. So you'll see a lot of the stuff, if they're single origin, they're going to be from Central or South America, and they're going to be kind of on the lighter side. One of my favorite coffees is a Honduran coffee. And so we have Honduran light roast coffee on our website. And so a lot of the cold-blooded caffeine branded stuff is what I like. And the co-branded stuff is what whoever's brand is on the bag tends to prefer, usually.
That's cool.
And it is interesting when you think about it, because like as reptile keepers, we keep all these animals from these tropical areas, and you start to think, oh yeah, they do make coffee in all these places. Because you're like you said, I have Colombian boas and I have Brazilian boas. I was like, that's kind of cool. And then you can screw Hawaii because there's no snakes there. So
yeah.
forget them and their
house
coffee.
geckos or something.
There's no snakes in Hawaii.
There's introduced brown snakes.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
It's a relatively newish island, so they didn't evolve there, and it's too far away from mainland, so they couldn't really float there. So there's no snakes there.
Cool.
Of course, the Bob's Balls has got Vietnamese coffee in it.
You can't help it, right? Like, what do you want me to do?
So, I love it.
Yeah, we did one with Bob that has Vietnamese in it, so had to. Yeah, we did one with Catalia that has a Mexico coffee in it, because she's right. She's with you guys in Texas. She's right near the border, so we had to do a Mexico in that one. Yeah. So
you also do teas.
We do.
And I was talking with Katie. I was like,
our daughter is so on board for this, by the way. She actually personally, like, we have questions on teas as well.
Okay.
Because she's a big tea drinker, and she likes hot teas, which is not what you think of for a 13-year-old.
That is hey, props.
Yeah, Actually, we found this cute little tea shop in the mountains in North Alabama, and it was like an Alice in Wonderland themed. So of course they had all these different teas, and she found one that I want to chill because I think it would be really good as a cold tea.
Her tea looks like potpourri. Like,
it's like all berry flavors. It's so good.
If you like that kind of stuff, check out. It's called a Tropical Island Refresher, but it's got like strawberries and hibiscus and mango.
That was the one on the website. I was like, this one will be good.
Yeah.
We'll like this one.
Yeah.
And he was just laughing at me and making fun of me the whole time. But yeah, she's getting real into the whole, like, getting the tea leaves and diffusing it herself and steeping it to get different flavors. And yeah, so she's also been very interested in this episode of the podcast.
Well, good.
Well, I thought what would be neat is I looked at your website, nobody branded tea. Everybody did coffee.
Yeah.
But like, we're the South. So like, a tea that makes a great sweet tea would be an awesome one for us. Like,
for the Reptile Gumbo podcast.
Yeah.
We can
absolutely do that. Yeah.
I used to drink so much sweet tea. That's probably why
we're both diabetic.
Honestly, that's probably the issue.
Although I still drink tea, I just drink more on the unsweet side than the sweet. And I've gotten used to it over the last several years.
So yeah, I do want to get into the other side of it. You're not just selling coffee. And go ahead.
Chris Eaton said we could do tea, and then I could teabag you with them.
Oh my God.
Fuck you, Chris. Anyways, so it's not just you sell tea and coffee, but there is a charitable side to it too. So I want to get to that in a minute.
Sure.
But I want to answer one of our questions that we posted that you gave us to post, and I guess because it took very little thought, it was like 1 million people answered right away.
Oh yeah.
But it was, if you could pick one beverage to drink other than water for the rest of your life, what would it be? And so the overwhelming majority of it is sweet tea.
What I think that's because a lot of our listeners live in the South.
Well, yes, well, no, Bill Bradley's up north, and he said sweet tea.
Well,
although he lives up north where they may add their sugar after it's already cold. That's weirdos.
Gotta mix it while it's hot.
don't ever quote me on this, but I would also agree that I would pick tea over coffee as my only thing to drink.
I get that.
If I had to pick one, but that was my answer as well.
Me 15 years ago would have said sweet tea, but me not wanting to lose a foot now at almost 40, Coke Zero. I'd have to be Coke Zero. It's sugar free. It gives me a soda. I'm going Coke Zero.
So our daughter was like, well, what about like lemon water? Does that count as plain water? Like if you're adding a flavor, does that count as your
Well, then when
I knew that people would overcomplicate it.
like,
So.
I don't know.
At that point, I want to add sugar to it, make lemonade. I don't want.
Yeah.
That's it was
water. Funny.
That's
I was
fine.
like, I got nothing on that, kid. Sorry.
Yeah.
So I wanted to go through several of our answers here. Our buddy Sean from the Herb Shop and Reptile Shop, he said an unsweet tea, and that's just Sean.
So he has also recently switched from sweet tea over to unsweet here in the last like year.
Gross.
Because he was going through so much sweet tea and he cut a lot of sugars out of his diet.
I don't know if I can do it. I don't know if I can go unsweet.
I have to go completely.
I would recommend trying higher quality teas, iced, because sweet tea bags, it's gonna give you a bitter taste. Like
bitter,
the tea that goes into it, it tends to be like lower grade and like finely chopped, and so your extraction is gonna be weird. If you're gonna go iced tea and you're gonna go unsweet, as a sweet tea drinker, try a higher quality black tea, and leave the leaves a little larger. Now, know that you're gonna have to. If you put them in a bag, you're going to have to give some more space in the bag because those tea leaves are going to expand. So you can't just use a traditional tea bag. But if you do decide to try unsweet tea, try a higher quality tea. It'll really help.
I also like teas that are flavored because I've discovered the flavor teas, in my opinion, are better to drink unsweetened. And so you're not getting just that black tea.
Well, if it's fruity, it's going to kind of make up for it not being sweet.
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah. We have a mango mist tea on our website that's very good, iced, unsweet. So no added sugar. I mean, it's got some mango pieces in there, so there's a little bit of natural sweetness and natural sugars in those mango chunks. But
yeah, I can't drink hot things when it's like triple digits outside. You know, I just can't do it. I need it 60 or less.
So speaking of answers that are tea related, all right. So our friend Megan gave the worst fucking answer ever. Her answer was Arizona diet green tea. That just is piss water. Why would you? That is horrible. She chose that.
You can do better. You can do better.
Arizona sweet tea in the can for 99 cents is one of my guilty pleasures.
That's Joe. Joe will go to that.
She wants diet green tea.
If Joe can't get Milo's, she'll get Arizona. But if she can get Milo's, that's what that Southern girl is getting.
I like Red Diamond.
Yeah, that's what we had in Alabama growing up.
Yeah. Tyson Dallas said it was a toss-up between Dr. Pepper and sweet tea, but he thinks he gives a slight edge to sweet tea. I know Robert, Dr. Pepper would be on his list. It would be up there.
Man, I was weak and I bought my first 12-pack of soda in 6 or 7 months now, and it was Dr. Pepper, and I drank them all in about a week, and I have felt like shit ever since.
Yeah.
Like absolute shit ever since.
If I drink a regular Coke, I can feel it. Like I haven't had like a really sugary soda in years.
Yeah, I've gotten down to one diet soda a day, and I've gotten to where if I have more than one, I just feel gross. I'm like, I need water. Give me water.
Yeah, there are weird times where I'm like, I just want water. Sometimes
like right now, I'm drinking unsweet cherry water mix. So it's like
I
Kool-Aid.
do. I don't drink plain water. I gotta have flavor in my water.
So Megan gave a horrible answer. That was a horrible one. The other horrible answer came from our other really good friend, Amanda Reddy, who said Pepsi. Pepsi is never the answer, ever.
Why am I not surprised that came from Amanda?
Coke is overwhelmingly better than Pepsi. So, gross. Just, I hate when I go somewhere and
I'll go somewhere and they're like, we have Pepsi. I'm like, I'll take a tea. I don't want Pepsi.
Like when they offer you Mr. Pibb instead of Dr. Pepper. It's like, no, I don't want.
No. I'm like, do you have Diet Coke? I'd rather drink a dirt flavored Diet Coke than Pepsi products.
Diet Pepsi is so bad. Angie Hume said Big Red. I do like Big Red. I haven't had it.
Which one is Big Red?
It's
red cream soda.
Yeah, it's red cream soda, but
yes.
it's really sugary. Like
A&W makes a diet cream soda.
Yes, I know.
That's actually satisfying. Like if you're craving the cream soda.
I didn't even think about getting JT to grab me some Barks Red Cream Soda when he was in Slidell 2 weeks ago. Some bitch.
Joe drinks
Well,
that stuff.
Be like,
I
oh, you
hate
guys, when
root
you're
beer.
coming through.
Ugh, I hate root beer.
Bill Bradley said sweet tea, so go for a Northerner with sweet tea. Danielle, our friend Danielle, said coffee. We her one.
All right, got one. Yeah.
There's a couple that said coffee.
Laney said sweet tea. So sweet tea.
There's a lot of sweet tea.
There's a lot in here. George Heim said Dr. Pepper. Also, if anybody's, that's a big thing I've realized moving to Texas. Like when it comes to soda, it's like a Dr. Pepper heavy state.
Oh yeah, but I mean the museum's here.
Yeah, I just
So,
they really like the
which I want to go to. That needs to be a weekend
Nakia,
vacation.
who's in the chat, said sweet tea, and she also said Red Diamond. So I'm
Mhm.
with her on Red Diamond. It's funny. We told our daughter earlier, like we told her before she was ever born, we used to always have a picture of sweet tea in our fridge, and then like we became diabetic and we stopped. But I remember at one point it was just pure sugar water. We went to a reptile expo actually with a bunch of friends in college.
Spoon up in my tea when college.
And we were like, all right, pour us a big thing of sweet tea and we'll take it with us. And we drank it like halfway there. I was like, holy shit, that is just sugar.
It was so bad.
I don't know what we did wrong, but it was just straight sugar.
100% why we're both done.
That one glass may have been why I'm diabetic. That one glass is done.
Yeah, I mean, I get it. Please understand. So the town that our roasting facility is in is Summerville, South Carolina, which is the birthplace of sweet tea. So we have like a big sweet tea museum thing there. The Charleston Tea Plantation, which is the only commercial tea garden in the U.S., like large commercial tea garden, is in Charleston. So I get the tea thing. Like I'm tea all the way, but I can't admit to it too much because I run a coffee roasting company. So.
yeah.
You can have both.
I love
you can
that.
drink, you can drink tea with your meal and coffee as kind of a dessert thing afterwards.
Yep.
Or like right now so that you can keep going.
Going through, let's see. Timothy said sweet tea. Corey Tellers said Coors.
I mean, hey, somebody.
I don't think you would feel super well if that was the only thing you drank.
Yeah.
I get it, but yeah.
It's a meal in
like
a can.
somebody saying red wine or something. Like your liver might not like you after a year.
Our buddy Darren said cranberry juice. I like
that's
cran
so
apple.
healthy. Yeah.
I can't just do cranberry. It's too tart for me, but cran apple is the shit.
Cran apple's pretty good. I like cran grape. It's like one of the few times I'll drink grape because it tastes like Dimetap cough syrup and I can't do it.
I'm like a regular grape. Our friend Corey Martin, who we talked about earlier, said coffee. She said that's the only correct answer. Corey, you're not correct. Chris Burns said tea. Our friend Rhonda said unsweet tea. Unsweet tea. Sarah Granite Stewart said Diet Coke. Really? If your options are Diet Coke or Coke Zero, take Coke Zero. It's just so much better. James Berry said black coffee. Maxwell House, or it ain't shit. Enjoy that.
No. Maxwell House. I'm trying to think of which.
There is no commercial you can remember.
Folgers was the commercial. And Community
Maxwell
Coffee.
House is what good to the last drop.
Good to the last drop is Maxwell House. Yeah. Neither one of my parents were coffee drinkers, but your dad is.
My daily coffee that I drink is Folgers, just because that's cheap and I've been drinking it my whole life. But I'm about to order a bag of this and got a feeling that's going to
change your life. Yeah.
Outside of cold-blooded caffeine, which we will have to try some.
Yeah.
If I might go to, and it's maybe because I lived 14 years in Louisiana.
Ours is Community
It's gonna be
Coffee.
Community coffee.
Yeah, I like Community quite a bit.
Yeah. But I want the one with the American flag on the bag, and you can't find that one here in Texas, except for like one grocery store that I found it.
My problem is
I don't want their Mardi Gras mix. It tastes weird. Like I don't want their flavored stuff.
No.
I haven't found one I like yet, but
what we did find was 19 bags of Old Bay flavored goldfish.
Hell yeah, we did.
Yeah, in case anybody didn't know,
I'm taking some of those to class.
It's too late for the rest of you. That season is already over. But if they bring them back next season, you need to stock up on Old Bay flavored goldfish. It's the shit.
Yeah, we were pretty pumped. And there's still a couple bags in our pantry from when we left to go to town. So
I gave you guys 10 bags. I kept 9 and I still had 9. So I have 18 bags still.
Yeah. Cool. Josephine's ready to like label, because normally we'll label the bags in the pantry so that we know who the bag belongs to between the three of us, because otherwise,
or else she'll eat them all.
Yeah. Like one person will just go in and wipe out.
Not one person, our kid. I'll just say one person. It's an exact one
I'm
person.
also guilty of eating like a whole bag at a time. So
and then our last one on here was our buddy Drew Schultz from the Learning Zoo. It was a meme of a little Asian guy drinking, I'm assuming, tea. He didn't say any words. It's just this cartoon.
That's funny.
Speaking of Drew Schultz, I think we're going out to the Learning Zoo those out there this weekend. They're having an event.
Saturday.
I think so. Yeah, I think Robert's going to look at his schedule and see about going with us.
Love the learning zoo. Those people are great. Anyway, so back to the tea and coffee. My favorite thing is to walk behind a Red Diamond truck when they're like delivering to a grocery store. The smell of the inside of a Red Diamond truck. Oh my God.
I don't know that I've ever done that before.
I have. It is. It's heaven. I don't know if I could work for them because I would just sit in the back. It's like when people like to go to like a walk-in humidor to smell cigars.
Oh yeah.
I'll pass on that.
I bet your coffee place smells good.
So the unfortunate thing with most things is that you go nose blind to it after a while.
Oh no.
So yeah, I mean, I still taste I can still taste it if I'm making coffee or brewing coffee, but like I'll walk out of the office and go home and my wife will be like, "Oh, that smells really good." And I'm like, "Well, thank you." And she's like, "No, the coffee."
Smell like a candle.
Oh, fine. Okay. So yeah, I don't notice it nearly as much, but people walk in and they're like, "Man, I can smell it from across the parking lot." And I'm like, is that a good thing? Oh yeah, that's a good thing. So
I do like to walk. I love how coffee smells.
Oh, coffee shops. I love sitting.
And I love like the HEB aisle of all the coffee is very strong on the end with the grinder. Yeah. And like I walked down we grocery shopped earlier today and I was like, okay, I'm good. I can keep going. Like I just got to get my fix or something. I don't know.
Yeah, coffee shop and a candle is an amazing candle. Like I just love it.
Joe has one of those.
We also bought her today. So we're trying to figure out this tea thing. We bought her one of those little like diffuser balls on a chain.
Yep.
So we're gonna attempt it.
We were gonna try to get like the bags that you could use. Because I've seen where the bags work really well, but they didn't have any. So I'm gonna have to like find a specialty shop to be able to get that. Although you guys may carry that. Do you carry the supplies as well,
no,
or does it come with your tea?
We just do the tea right
just
now.
The tea.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just and right now on our website it's only loose leaf tea. I am working on bagged tea, but I'm not like. So we don't roast we roast the coffee in house. We don't process tea in house. It comes to us from an importer brings it into us, and so we get it kind of how it is. And so we've been trying to work on a process on trying to bag them in house, but it's a little bit complicated because it uses some specialized equipment that we don't have as coffee roasters. So I'm trying to do it a little bit by hand. So we're working on it. We do have some bagged options that we've sold at trade shows in the past, but those came from the importer bagged already. So
yeah, the tea that she just bought, it's like this cute little fun jar that just says
it
tea.
looks like potpourri,
and it is. It's very colorful. She will open the jar and smell it, and then just put the lid back on.
Yeah. So like a normal bag tea, like I guess when you think of like going to the store and buy bag tea, it's just like really ground up stuff, right? You're talking like large leaf stuff.
Yeah, like potpourri.
And so there's you said earlier there's a big flavor difference in that.
There is, yeah. So well, first of all, if you're just like if you're just using the kind of finely ground tea, it creates more of a surface area for the tea to extract. So you're often going to over extract it and you're going to get a bitter flavor in the cup. So with the whole leaves, there's less surface area, and so you can allow it to brew for a longer period of time without it over extracting. So you get a more even extraction of the entire tea leaf. And again, this is talking specifically about tea, not herbal, like black tea, green tea, like the leaf tea, not herbal teas. Herbal teas are a different ball game. You can get a better, I think, herbal tea in a bag than you can get a tea leaf in a bag.
And black tea is the base for what most people think of when they think sweet tea on sweet tea, right?
For sure. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, any tea can be iced. I really enjoy an iced oolong tea just for sipping on, but it's not, you typically don't see that. You're not going to see that in bags. I wouldn't trust oolong tea in bags. You can do an iced green tea. They're pretty popular. Like the Arizona iced green.
Our daughter likes green teas.
Yeah, but most of the people think black tea.
Yeah, whenever Joe and I would always go visit your grandmother up in DC, we always had peach or raspberry tea.
I like peach tea,
and that's what she would always have in the fridge for us.
Usually those are going to be flavored black teas, so they're going to be black tea with something else on top of it.
So let's switch over to the coffee things. I'm interested in the process. Since you roast it all, what is the beginning to end process, if you're going to make a bag of tea, how does that whole process work for you?
Coffee, not
Coffee,
tea.
not tea, coffee.
Yeah, so we're very selective with our sourcing. Of course, it goes back to the conservation side of things. So we're very selective with our sourcing. So we only bring in specialty coffee. And what that term means is it's coffee that has been sustainably grown and harvested under strict requirements of the Specialty Coffee Association. And that coffee scores an 80 points or higher on a 100-point scale in terms of quality. So we're only bringing in the best of the best in terms of what coffee comes into the U.S. We work with two primary importers, one out of Jacksonville, Florida, one out of Charleston, South Carolina. And we import by the bag or by the pallet. So a raw bag of coffee beans weighs about 150 pounds. So we're getting 150-pound burlap bags. A pallet is 10 of them. So 1,500 pounds of coffee at a time. It's coffee's green when you buy it. So it's just like any other agricultural product. It's a bean, it's green. It smells very grassy. So it's very different from what you would expect the end result to look like. And once we receive it in, the first thing we're going to do with any coffee that we get in is we're going to sample roast that coffee. So sample roasting is just trying to understand how that coffee wants to be roasted, how well it takes on heat. What does it look like as it goes through the process of roasting? So there's like 3 primary steps as you're roasting coffee. You have a green to yellow period. So that bean's going to go from a bright green color to kind of like a baked bread smell, yellowish color. And then, so that usually takes about 4 minutes roasting. From 4 minutes to about 8 minutes, you're going to get the Maillard reaction phase. So just like with any cooking, like if you're searing a steak or anything like that, you're going to get that caramelization of any sugars. So that like that kind of char on the outside, that's the Maillard reaction. It's not just in coffee, it's in cooking and teas and everything else, as you're going through. So that's from 4 minutes to 8 minutes. And then from 8 minutes, usually that's about where your first crack is going to occur. So, coffee will pop like popcorn when it reaches a certain temperature. And it's actually the cellulose shell of the bean popping open. So you're releasing moisture from inside of that bean, and it's expanding and it's going to pop. And then that's kind of the end of when you can first drink a coffee. So right at first crack is going to be a very light roast. And then as you roast further than that, 3 minutes might be a medium roast, 4 to 5 minutes might be a dark roast. Once you get to a point where it's a very dark roast, you'll actually get a second crack, and that's the cellulose structure of the bean itself cracking. And then the roaster joke is if you hit third crack, that's the machine cracking. So, it's okay.
Don't go that far.
So my point in saying that is, from a sample roast, we're trying to understand what we can get out of that coffee, because every coffee is different. A coffee from Colombia is going to act completely different than a coffee from Kenya and from a coffee from Sumatra or Papua New Guinea. So we have to understand how that coffee wants to be roasted, how that coffee was processed before it got to us, what altitude that coffee was grown, the soil conditions of how that coffee was grown are all going to impact how we are able to get flavor out of that coffee. So that's the first step, is sample roasting. Once we have something that we like, we will then roast profile it. So we'll take that same coffee and we'll run it a couple of different ways. We'll run it against like what we think would be a traditional profile for that coffee. And then we'll run it maybe a couple of different ways to understand what it can do in terms of like, okay, maybe if we extend the Maillard reaction phase, can we get a sweeter coffee, or can we get a more citrusy coffee, or can we get a more acidic coffee? Or what if we shorten that down? Will it make a nice espresso or something like that? And then we work it that way. And then once we probably roast that coffee 4, 5, 6 times before we decide on the final profile, before we list it on the website and release it to the public.
Yeah, there's a lot of trial and error to figure out what the best method is going to be.
Yeah, because this coffee is not cheap. It's not cheap for us to buy. It's not a Folgers. It's not a Maxwell House. It's not a, so the price that you're going to pay for it, I don't think it's unreasonable. I mean, it's in line with what other specialty coffee is going for in the market, but specialty coffee is specialty for a reason. And, our part is the final part of the process. So if we're not doing our due diligence in making sure that we're roasting it to the best of our ability and its ability, then what happened before that, the time it took for the farmer to produce it and handle it, and a lot of this coffee is hand picked. So all of that delicacy can be ruined by if I don't do my due diligence on the back end on the roasting side and just kind of put out the first thing that comes out of the roaster. I don't feel like I'm doing it justice. So
how do you decide? You get a bean in. How do you decide if it's? I mean, do you sell the same bean at different levels, light, medium, and dark, or do you figure out which one's best for you? For
sometimes, yeah, it depends on the specific coffee. So like, typically, like the Papua New Guinea, we will only sell it as like a medium or a dark roast. It tends to be a little vegetal, like a grassy, as a light roast. And so it tends to want to go darker. If that makes like it almost has a personality, right? Like that coffee kind of wants to be dark, as opposed to like some of your more delicate coffees, like Ethiopian, Rwanda, a lot of your African coffees, like any of your natural processed coffees, they tend to want to be lighter roast. They tend to not take heat as well. So they'll like get to a point where they'll kind of take off on the roast. And so like I'm trying to think of an analogy, like if you're cooking something and it kind of starts off slow and then all of a sudden it picks up speed and it gets like too well done too fast. That can happen with coffee as well. So some of those natural processed coffees will tend to take off on you a little bit. So I tend to like those a little bit lighter. But sorry, to answer your original question, we do have some coffees that we do. Like I have a Honduran coffee that I have a light roast and a dark roast of, and it seems to take well to both. And so it's the same bean from the same place. It seems to do well both. We don't have a medium roast because I didn't particularly like the medium of that coffee. I didn't think it did well, but I did like the light and I did like the dark. I
just keep hearing you name coffees. I'm just thinking, man, it'd be cool if you designed the bag like with a Honduran milk snake and a Colombian boa and a Brazilian rainbow boa and a Kenyan sand boa. I'm just like,
funny you should mention that, because that is actually so. Adeline Robinson does a lot of our artwork. She did the logo design. She does a lot of our artwork. She has been pestering me to send her a list of the coffees that we have so that she could do that exact same thing. So
that sounds like her. She will be harassing you. You better get her that list quick.
There will be it'll probably be a limited edition run. It probably won't be a full time, because to print labels for bags is kind of a little bit expensive. So we have bags that are printed, bulk bags. So those are cheaper.
But
so
it'll
probably be a limited run. But
do it for specialty, or even if you did it for like auctions at Tinley
do a series. So like the first one is series 1.
Yeah.
And then later on, you pick another animal from the other reptile from that place and do series 2. And like, so that'd be a cool collectibles, having those labels with those different ones, especially for people that collect that animal, whatever that reptile is or amphibian is. They're going to want, like, look, if there's a Kenyan sand boa one or a Colombian boa one, I'm going to want those because that's what I have.
All right, y'all win. I'll email Adeline back. I'll no, just kidding.
I've talked to her enough, and I know her well enough that she'll, if it's something like once her artistic side takes over and it's something that she wants to try to do, it's like that little piece of her brain won't stop nagging her until it's done.
Agree right now, there will be no ball python version.
So luckily enough, ball pythons don't really grow where don't really live where specialty coffees grow. So the likelihood of me trying to force that to happen is unlikely. So
good, forget them.
Oh my gosh. I texted someone that I work with and I was like, I never knew that making coffee was such like an intense process. And she's like, girl, you just put the grounds in your pot. What are you talking about? And I'm like, no. I'm sorry. Let me rephrase my sentence here. I was like, I'm talking. And then I sent her your website. She's like, oh, you mean like from scratch? I'm like, yes.
From a bean.
Yeah.
So you don't do any of the civet poop coffee because that just seems freaking weird.
We do not. So
that
we
sounded
actually
like a yet was going to follow that.
No. So we did look. We had someone ask us about it. We did look into it, and there are some pretty significant ethical concerns with the Civic Coffee. So of course, with anything that gets popular, I think it was at the Bucket List, the movie that they talked about. Civic Coffee. I can't remember exactly.
I haven't watched that one, but I think that may have been the one that it was in. Yeah.
And so it exploded in popularity. And with anything that explodes in popularity and there's too much demand for supply, people start doing crazy stuff. And so people started like caging Civics and like force feeding them coffee beans and stuff.
Nope.
So
I need to.
so yeah, we were like, no, I'm not touching that.
We need to find out if coffee beans are poisonous for tortoises, because we could do our whole reptile version of this and just feed beans to
What
tortoises.
the hell is wrong with you?
If people eat shit from a civet, they'll eat shit from a tortoise.
Absolutely not.
A tortoise diet's probably better.
We could probably check. I would bet that Redfoots could handle it. But I don't think
You probably are right with that one.
I don't know how we would get, because we don't get them as cherries. So coffee beans come in a cherry, and we get them already husked and pulp. So we just get a hard bean. So I think you would have to get a. I mean, my Redfoots try to bite my toes, so they're not
Mine
picky,
do.
right? So I think you could get them to eat a coffee cherry, but we don't get them like that. So
I was just thinking the number of like sulcatas in the United States, we could just pump out shit tons of sulcata coffee.
Because I'm sure feeding them coffee bean for a long period
Could you
of
imagine how
time.
excited those things would get?
Holy shit.
So much faster.
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
Great for their life.
Probably need to check
man.
some with a nutritionist on that
Yeah.
one before.
Nah, just do it.
Oh
There's
my
plenty of
God.
sulcatas. Start feeding them.
We do not recommend that you feed your tortoises
Please,
coffee
yes,
beans.
please
Then
don't,
imagine how much you could sell it for if you're like, it came specially from tortoise shit.
please.
Way
Yeah.
better than regular coffee. I'm just trying to think of ways.
I think I'm going to pass on that idea.
I think you should. I think you should.
you could hear me out. Feed it to a rat, feed the rat to a snake, and then somehow get it that way.
Gosh. It's getting very complicated now.
That means more expensive, and you make more money.
No.
People, like I'm telling you, the people go crazy over shit coffee from civets. It's just they'll pay for
Right.
anything.
All
People
right.
have started. I think there's elephant coffee as well now, where it comes out of elephants. So,
I have a notebook that's made out of the paper is made from elephant poop.
yeah.
That's a thing. You can buy those in gift shops.
With all that said, there's no way I'm eating anything that came out of some shit. It's just not happening. I can't.
Go ahead and do your next question on Facebook.
Oh,
I was
well,
about to say, this got off the rails pretty fast, didn't it?
This is every
that's
week.
just
This is
Our
us.
podcast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the three of us I have been gone for the last 3 weeks. The two of them saw each other, but the three of us have not been together in about a month. So it's a little crazier tonight.
So before I get into the next question, I want to get into the other half of this business. Because again, it's not just coffee and tea. There is a charitable side to it. So if you want to go ahead and explain that part, and then we can get into the question.
Sure. So 5% of every purchase that's made through our website or at trade shows or any way that you find us and pay us money, 5% of that goes to wildlife conservation efforts within coffee producing countries. And what I mean by that is we work with a couple of different organizations that do work within coffee producing countries specifically related towards wildlife conservation. So one of those is Rainforest Alliance. A lot of people will recognize Rainforest Alliance as a certification body within coffee. So you can have Rainforest Alliance certified coffee. We are Rainforest Alliance certified, but we take it a step beyond. And so not only do we pay a premium for the coffee that we're buying to be Rainforest Alliance certified, but also we're going to donate an additional 5% on top of that back to Rainforest Alliance for any of our signature coffee. So any of the coffee that has Cold-Blooded Caffeine's logo on it, 5% goes back to Rainforest Alliance. Anything that has any reptile person's coffee like logo on it, we let them decide whether they want to go donate back to Rainforest Alliance or whether they want to donate to USARC.
Oh.
So either one. So we do either if you decide that. So like we have a couple of customers that say, I donate a ton of money to USARC every year. I have a program for that. I would like to also donate to Rainforest Alliance. Great, that's fine. We'll donate your 5% to Rainforest Alliance. Some say, okay, yep, this is great. Send it to USARC. We'll do 5% to USARC. We are also working on a couple of other nonprofits. So one of them is Turtle Survival Alliance. So we're working with them. They're actually based out of Charleston. So we're very close with those guys. We're working on a Turtle Survival Alliance coffee and a Turtle Survival Alliance beer. So they do drink beer, save coffee, or drink beer, save turtles. So we're going to do a coffee, like a coffee stout or something like that with them in collaboration for Drink Beer, Save Turtles, and then donate all the proceeds back to Turtle Survival Alliance. Same thing with their coffee. We're going to do a coffee with them to donate a bunch of stuff back to Turtle Survival Alliance. And then we're working a few more that are kind of in the works still that I can't talk about, but some other nonprofits specifically related to reptiles that we're trying to focus in on. And these are folks that are doing work in the countries in their natural habitat. So Turtle Survival Alliance going into Colombia to work with redfoots, going into Madagascar to work with plowshares and things like that, right? So that is, I think, sums up the nonprofit side or the charitable side. Of course, we do. So like when we go to trade shows and stuff, we do a lot of donation work with USARK as well at those shows. We have a USARK blend that the proceeds go back to USARK. So that's it's actually a barrel aged coffee. It's very nice coffee if you're interested in that. Yeah, I think that sums it up.
That's awesome. This is great. You did an awesome job finding a guest. I'm learning so much tonight. This is great. Normally, I'm like, who do we have on? What do I need to learn? What do they do?
I need to drink more coffee. That's my problem. Like,
that's what I've been telling everyone. Yeah. That's
well,
my
look,
mission.
here's what we can do is we can buy some to try, and if we don't like it, I'll take it to school, and people at school will drink it. So it'll get used.
Or Robert will drink it. I'll figure out what Robert's ordered, and then I'll order stuff that he hasn't ordered.
There you go. Yeah, y'all need to get together before the order gets placed. We'll just make one big massive order.
The whole thing is very so. Without trying not to get too personal, but what do you have any numbers on what y'all been able to give to USARK or Rainforest Alliance in that?
I don't, and I've done that on purpose because I don't want it to be about a number.
Gotcha.
So like we do it every month. So I mean, we at the end of every month. So like this is the 31st. Tomorrow, I will go in and I will calculate all the sales for July, and I'll do a donate. I purposefully never post, like you'll see me occasionally say thanks for all your support, and I'll put a post out that says, you know, with stuff hidden that says thanks for your donation to the Rainforest Alliance. I don't ever want it to be about me or about how much I've donated. So I don't actually know the total number, but we do it every month. We've done it for the past 2.5 years.
Awesome.
Well, it's really cool because you found a way to have a product in the hobby that also helps the hobby. Because look, folks that go to reptile shows, there's a lot of stuff at reptile shows that are sold that, I mean, like only so many 3D printing things can be at a reptile show, and only so many stuffed snakes can be sold. Like it's a product, and that money's not going back to help the hobby. Yours is going to help the hobby and help them in nature as well. So I mean, it's two-pronged, and that's really awesome.
Yeah, that was one of the things that we were really intentional about. Is I love, like I've kept reptiles, like I said, since I was in college, but I'm also really interested in natural history of those animals, and I couldn't think of it. Like there's so many people doing such great work with, you know, captive animals, reptile rescues, and you know, USARK and things like that, that I wanted to make sure that the animals that are still in the wild, especially when we're talking about coffee has kind of a tumultuous past in terms of like ethics and things like that, industrialization. And so using the industry that I chose and trying to make it better for the animals that I love, that's and in their natural habitat, that's really where my passion is.
I like that you have made sure that everything is sustainable, because so like we don't have a company that picks up recycling at our house where we are. So what we have to do is we load it into the car and then we take it to a recycling place, and it's free. It doesn't cost us anything but the drive out there and the drive home. And so James actually took it all for me while I was out of town because it was taking over the kitchen. But I realized while I was out of town just how few people actually recycle. And like, we didn't recycle anything while we were at the cabin with your parents.
Yeah.
And it wasn't that we didn't, it was just it wasn't set up to do that. And I didn't realize just how much I've been recycling until that was taken away from me.
The amount of garbage we throw away now is so little.
Yeah. Like, we used to have full trash cans every trash day, twice a week. And now we're lucky if we have one full trash can once a week. And so I don't know just how much difference my recycling is. In my mind, it's making a big difference.
It makes a difference.
But knowing that you're supporting a product that is sustainable and is coming from places that are not making the environment worse, to me, it's very important.
Well, like you said, it's a tricky thing because you're doing coffee. So there's a history of it's kind of like along the lines of palm oil and logging, right? In these places where this stuff is grown are also places where you're having to tear down rainforests to do these things. And so being able to do it in a way in which you can still do it and protect that area is really cool.
I actually was working on a video for our YouTube channel today about that same thing. And it's about the money that consumers spend really dictates how the market goes, right? So if people are going to dedicate and put their money towards products that are going to be sustainable, then the market's going to shift to that, right? But if we continue to buy products that don't support that support, full sun coffee production in Latin America, where there's not full sun acreage to do that, they're going to cut down rainforests and they're going to make full sun coffee plantations.
Will you explain
right?
the difference there with that?
For sure. Yeah. So coffee naturally is a shade plant, right? It wants to grow in shade. So coffee originated in Ethiopia, and it originated in the rainforests of that ecosystem. And so naturally coffee is a shade plant. People, as people do, have figured out that it can grow successfully in full sun. And, logic would dictate that you could grow more coffee without other trees around than you can with other trees around. And so over, the history of coffee from, when like you're talking, I mean, way back when like the Dutch East India Company went into like Indonesia and stuff and started chopping down trees in Java and Sumatra to plant these plantations, all the way up to like, the early mid 1900s when the same thing was happening in Latin America. These industrial capitalists coming in, taking over large portions of land from indigenous peoples, taking large swaths of the rainforest and chopping it down just because they know that there's growing demand for coffee in North America and Europe. And so, full sun coffee kind of became the standard throughout the 1900s. I mean, we're talking about as recently as like the 90s, 1990s and early 2000s, when you started seeing specialty coffee come into vogue, where people really started emphasizing shade grown coffee, going back to the way that coffee naturally grows. And this does a couple of things, right? So of course, shade grown coffee, you're keeping canopies, you're keeping trees that would have otherwise been cut down in order to maintain that shade cover, which does a couple of things. One, it's going to drop natural fertilizer for that coffee, right? So as stuff falls to the fourth floor, leaves and stuff, it's going to create natural compost. It's going to allow that coffee to be fertilized without using, chemicals. But then it's also going to create habitats for other types of animals, including reptiles and amphibians, but also birds and insects and mammals. And so there was a study that was done earlier this year, and it showed the effects of shade grown coffee versus full sun coffee. And it showed that you're seeing, between 6 and 10% more biodiversity within shade grown coffee, as opposed to even like, so like 30% or more canopy cover, as opposed to even less than 30%. So it's a really interesting study and a really interesting kind of shift in the way that people think about wildlife conservation within an agricultural environment. So I grew up on a farm. We grew like soybeans, cotton, all that kind of stuff. And we were always, we worked with like Clemson Agriculture Extension. So I'm again in South Carolina. So Clemson is a big agriculture. They have a big agriculture program. So they would come in and they would teach the farmers how to like plant buffer crops. So stuff around the edge that would give a buffer between like the forest and the open fields to give some kind of corridor for animals to move. And so we're seeing a lot of that now happening within coffee as well. So instead of just coming straight from forest to coffee trees, you have some buffer crops that are being planted around the edges of those plantations to really try and facilitate biodiversity and not like ostracize the animals outside of those farms, but making sure that they have an environment within those farms that they can thrive. And so that's only a very recent trend, but yeah, full shade versus full sun is a very new thing within the coffee world. Well, I say new thing, but it was originally that way. And then we decided that wasn't working and went away with it, but it's very much coming back in terms of like small specialty roasters and small specialty producers.
What
That's so cool.
I don't know if you know numbers, but what percentage of coffee available do you think is probably done full shade versus full sun?
I don't know a specific number. It's probably it's definitely less than 20%. I would almost guarantee, but you're probably talking in the 10% range.
So if you go to a grocery store, most of the stuff on a shelf, that's full sun.
Yeah, it's going to be full sun. Yeah, almost. I mean, there's a couple of specialty roasters that are pretty widespread. I can't guarantee that all of their stuff. I mean, to be very transparent, all of our stuff is not 100% shade grown. It's very difficult to do. We do as much as we can with what we can get in.
Yeah.
But there's some stuff that you just can't, like right now. That's what I'm saying. We have to teach the market what we want. So when there's that available, we have to buy it and we have to sell it, and the market has to drive. So the next time that comes available, the producer will produce more of it. So just full transparency, we try our best with our sourcing. But in terms of like stuff that's off the shelf, the best thing that you can do is go talk to your local roaster. That's really who's going to be able to tell you that. There are some pretty good national brands. Counterculture is a specialty coffee brand that you'll see in grocery stores a fair amount. Again, I'm not sure that if their stuff is shade grown or not, but they are a specialty coffee brand. Stumptown, they're out of Portland. They're a specialty coffee roaster that's pretty prolific. Oh my gosh, I can't even talk. It's too late. You know what I mean? That I see in grocery stores in South Carolina. So I figure they're probably all over the US. So just look for some of those, if you're going to pick up a coffee and it's in a 12 ounce or a 16 ounce bag and it's less than $10, it's full sun, guaranteed. Yeah.
And if you're listening to this and you want to go buy coffee, go over to Cold Blooded Caffeine website and get coffee. I mean, you're in the hobby.
Yes, for sure.
So you're going to drink coffee anyways. If you're a coffee drinker, might as well do some good for the hobby that you're already in.
Thank you.
And there's so many options. And look, you can go over there and you can support your favorite YouTubers or other podcasts, or you can just buy stuff. Like, there's so many ways to do it.
Yep.
It seems like a no-brainer if you're a coffee person that also wants to make a difference.
We do love supporting other people in the industry. That's one of the things that we really valued when we first started. And that's why we wanted to do the private labels. To be perfectly transparent, I don't make a ton of money off those private labels. I do them, for exposure for other people and for just the joy that people have in getting their name on a bag of coffee. I really love that part of being a community and supporting the hobby. So yeah, I mean, a lot of times if you make sure that if you do want someone's coffee, check to see if they have a promo code for it, because they'll get a kickback for it. So go support those guys. I love sending those payments again every month to the affiliates that help support what we do. So if there's a code out there, make sure you're using it, because those are the guys that make it possible for us to do what we do. So
do you get a chance to go out and visit the plantations or the areas where some of your beans come from?
I've never gone to where our beans come from. I've been to other coffee plantations, just based on availability and where we are in the world. But I would love to. That's kind of the goal as the business grows, is to be able to do even more specific sourcing, like going to specific farms and building relationships with specific farmers. I can currently trace our coffee all the way back to a specific farm, but I don't have a relationship with that farmer. The importer does, right?
Gotcha.
So I would
That makes
love to
sense.
get to the point of being able to go to those locations. But the hard part about that is, once you get to saying, oh, okay, I want to directly import from this farmer, you've got to take a large portion of that farmer's crop. And we are just not to the point right now where we
Yeah.
can do that. Like I'm taking pallets at a time and you're talking containers at a time. Right.
Yeah.
So one day, but yeah, right now, just taking what we can get.
So I wanted to pull up so we talked about that. I'll pull up the second question that we posted. The second question we posted was, what can we as reptile keepers do to ensure the conservation of our captive animals' natural habitats? Because let's be honest, 90% of the hobby does not think about that. Look, it may not be 90, but 75% of the hobby doesn't know where half their shit came from originally in the first place. If it's not in the name, like Brazilian rainbow boa, they have no idea there's an Argentinian rainbow boa. And
Yeah.
But hopefully that will grow more. I think it's definitely, since I got into the hobby in 2000, it's definitely grown more. People are more aware of stuff. And like I said, I wish more people get aware of captive bred versus wild caught. That has been an issue. Like my number one I always go to is Savannah monitors. I just wish we'd fucking stop importing Savannah monitors and learn to breed those things. But price is always the issue. So I'll go through a few of the answers that our listeners gave to the question. Calgraph said, stop supporting poachers, immoral flippers, and breeders, which is kind of an issue there. We need to stop focusing on what makes a quick dime and more about what we can do to benefit the species we're working with. Nobody's doing anything for ball pythons anymore, but if we get more people working with Asian colubrids and clubroids, also don't mess with wild caught stuff unless you're a breeder and or absolutely 100% know what you're required to do for the animal, including vet care. That's a big thing. Like, as someone who goes to a lot of reptile shows, I get it. A large part of people that go to reptile shows are not what we would traditionally call reptile people. People that walk through the door, like the vendors, a lot of them are. The people that walk through the door, it's a zoo. Really, we're a zoo that they paid however much to come in to bring their family, and a lot of animals become impulse buys, and unfortunately, the impulse buys are the cheap imported stuff.
Yeah,
and that is definitely one thing I wish we could. The problem is it makes money for those people, and it's a double-edged sword. That's one area where I really wish as a hobby we could find a way to cut back on someone going and buying a fucking sunbeam snake that they've never even seen. They just think it's pretty underneath the lights, and then they throw it in a tank on some green grass and wonder why it dies.
Yeah. And what I was thinking when I asked that question was, you really hit on one of them. Is I mentioned it earlier, we speak with our money. If we continue to support folks that aren't doing things the right way, whatever it is, I'm not, not even just reptiles, but within any consumer market, you're going to reinforce that behavior. I rescued it from Petco behavior. Well, Petco just replaced it with another thing. Thanks for, encouraging them, that kind of idea. And it's the same thing with coffee, understanding where it came from, supporting people that are doing it the right way. But then I think there's also an after effect, and it's the sunbeam snake analogy, understanding what happens after you make that purchase. And it's also from a consumable item standpoint, what happens after you make a purchase of a consumable item. What's the end result of that item? Does it end up in a landfill? Is it compostable? Is it reusable? Is it sustainable? Asking all of those questions ahead of time and not just seeing something and say, I'm a consumer market, I'm gonna pick that up. Like we're working on some stuff now on like reusing. One of our big initiatives is reusing stuff that we produce out of this facility. So we try to minimize as much waste as we can, but the burlap bags that coffee comes in, how can we reuse those? The grounds that we produce, how do we reuse those in a way that we can maintain, get a second life out of it before it goes into a landfill. Coffee produces coffee chaff. So it's like a husk, like a peanut kind of shell husk. What can we do with that instead of just tossing it in a trash bag and throwing it in the landfill? It's both a pre and a post purchase question
Well,
of what you're going to do with that.
And there's got to be stuff you could do, like the burlap. There's got to be some crafty person out there who could take that, turn it into a viable product that could then be sold.
Don't look at me; it makes me itch.
No, but and with the chaff, there's got to be something. If you grind that down, it could be used to make something. Look at like the peanut, like so many things that done with the peanut.
You keep throwing around this word that you just used. Yeah. Yes, I don't actually know what that is. I'm going to Google it in just a minute. Yeah. I'm almost done with like my second week of lesson plans. But is it like a shell?
Yeah.
No. So I said peanuts, but think of like the inside of like a roasted peanut, how it's got that flaky kind of papery.
Oh no, that it won't work for. So there's a lot of people in the craft world will make like almost a pin cushion, I guess is a good way to describe it. And they will fill it with husks and nuts and things like that. Yeah. And those over time are actually really good for the points of your needles. But that won't work.
Yeah. But things like that. I mean, we're thinking of things because we live it every day. And so we've got some ideas that we're working on. But yeah, it's applicable not only to coffee and other consumer products, but also reptiles, and understanding, like you were saying, if you're buying an LED bulb, buy one that's going to last, that has some support behind it, like VivTech bulbs, not just go to one that you're going to use for 2 months and throw in the trash and get another one and use for 2 months and throw in the trash. Right. Think of how that's being, even if it's the cheapest, then.
Well, and that's also the problem is when we think of things the cheapest, money's another big issue why this whole hobby has parts of it we don't like. So again, like the sunbeam snake, right? Someone goes and pays almost nothing for it. If it dies, fuck it, it costs nothing. So whatever to them, right? Yeah. Same, let's go with coffee, right? Someone goes and buys a giant jug of Folgers. If some gets wasted or they don't, well, it is whatever. But if they bought a nicer bag that they know costs a little more, but it's better, they're not going to just be like, oh, whatever. Right. Yep. It's the same kind of thing. People have got to think more. Let's see some of the other answers we got. Ash Marie said support breeders of the usual wild caught stuff if possible, which is yes, breeders that are breeding stuff that is normally wild caught, but it's captive bred. Obviously not always possible and higher prices, but it's worth it to keep those habitats and wild populations healthy. Again, savanna monitors are the ones I just fucking hate seeing people buy them for $20 and they're just going to die in a 20-gallon tank. Support programs that help educate and support efforts of locals in less developed regions with popular herp collecting areas. And if traveling to herp, work with travel companies that employ local people from the actual areas you're traveling to, which in return supports the ecotourism in that area, because that's some of the money that goes back to the habitat in most cases. That's a good one. That's like, I've talked with Robert before about like hunting. People always hate hunting. Like, especially when they think Africa, like big game hunting is horrible. I'm like, they feed so many local people when they kill stuff.
Yeah.
Like
they're not taking that meat back to the US, right? Or well, some do, but most of them aren't. They're going to use that.
And like I always say, if it wasn't for trophy hunting, there are numerous species that wouldn't even exist today.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because if it doesn't pay, it doesn't stay.
Well, yeah, hunting and fishing pays for a lot of conservation. For as much as people hate it, like it's horrible for nature. I'm like, a large part of it is through that. And that's another great thing in this hobby. We've got to support our part of that because, again, if someone goes and buys a ball python in a reptile show, they're not thinking of animals in the wild that are losing habitat to possibly places that are cutting down rainforests to grow coffee or grow whatever, right? And not doing it in a sustainable way. So it's just got to get the information out there that there's ways that we can do. Because I think for a lot of people, they don't think that what they're doing is going to make a difference. So why worry about it? Which is the problem is 6 million people think that way. Then there's a problem. Yeah. And the other is a lot of people just don't know that they can do something. Right. And then it's so easy. Like, look, we recycle. It takes nothing for us to load the back of our car, drive 20 minutes and give them those bags, then drive away. Nothing. Look, we were out driving around anyways. Like, right. Again, if you're going to drink coffee, go buy a cold blood of caffeine and make a difference. Yeah. So, yeah, I think people just don't realize that they can make a difference.
Every dollar matters. Every dollar is going to go to somebody, right? I'm not saying that it has to come to me, but there's a ton of good coffee out there that people are trying to do it the right way. And that's, the intentionality. What frustrates me a lot with the way things are marketed is that it actually, you're seeing now where people are taking it almost and manipulating the marketing to make it seem better than it is. So like one of the big trend words now, especially in coffee, is like compostable or recyclable and what that means. And a lot of times when you see like, oh, this is a compostable coffee bag, well, that's compostable in a commercial composting facility. And I don't know about you guys and where you live, but there's not one in my state that will take a commercial composting facility, much less, somewhere that I could get to within a reasonable distance. So a lot of people will use that marketing and say, oh, this is a compostable bag. And it's like, yeah, but it's you can't just stick it in the ground in the backyard and it go away. Right. It's a commercial process. And same thing with like, you see a lot of like recyclable K-cups. So yeah, but then you gotta take the coffee out of the K-cup, you gotta clean it out and rinse it out, and then you can send it to a specific recycling center. A lot of that stuff, it sounds good on paper, but you have, and it's frustrating that the consumer is trying to do the right thing, and still, it's going to end up going right into a landfill with everything else.
That's like the word organic. I fucking hate the word organic.
Yeah,
because everybody thinks if they buy organic stuff, they're making a difference. I'm like, that stuff is still grown. Like it's not that different from what you're buying that didn't say organic.
No,
I hate when people throw the word vegan on shit. I'm like, I don't need to know that my clothes are vegan. That doesn't matter to me.
Right.
What is I have a coffee bag over there that I was looking at the other day. I was doing a comparison video between a bunch of different coffee, and it said gluten-free on the coffee bag. And I was like,
yeah, all coffee should be gluten-free.
I didn't know that was a concern. That's
a waste of
I could put it on a T-bone too, gluten-free.
But the problem is now somebody's going to see that, and then they're going to look at mine, and mine doesn't say gluten-free, and they're going to be like,
even though it is gluten-free,
gluten's coffee. And I was like,
but because it's on there, they're going to buy it.
So it's some of it's and the same thing with organic. I very much support organic stuff, but a lot of your specialty coffee is going to be organic just by nature. Like I was talking about, like your specialty grade coffee is going to use compost from trees that are around it. They're going to use the pulp from the coffee to fertilize the coffee. That doesn't mean that it's certified organic, but and so certainly buy certified organic stuff. But for me as a processor, what I have to do to be certified organic is just have a separate sink. That's it. Like there's no other requirements for me as a roaster other than, I have to clean my bowl in this sink instead of that sink. Right. And so like organic is great, but organic is a certification of process and not a certification of quality.
Yeah.
Right. You can have a great organic bean that was, perfect from the time that it was picked. It was handed over on a nice silver platter across the ocean to me. And then I throw it in the dirt and then throw it in a roaster and boop, non-organic. And like, it's bad, right? it's bad coffee.
Well, it's like everybody hears organic, like that means no pesticides. I'm like, there's still pesticides used on our organic stuff.
Yes.
Like it's not. And then me as a biology teacher, when I hear organic, my problem is organic is anything with carbon in it. So I'm like, when I go to a grocery store, I'm like, everything here is organic. I'm about to eat it. It's all organic by definition.
Yeah. So, and again, to emphasize, I'm not picking on organic. There's people that do organic right, and it can be a sign that someone put more quality into it, but it's not guaranteed, right? Yeah. It's very much not. So
it's like I said, I don't know. It was funny. I thought earlier. So I was driving to go get crickets earlier, and so we have that Saharan dust coming through right now, and it looks crazy outside. It looks like it's all hazy, which is amazing. I'd much rather have Saharan dust come here from Africa than the fucking hurricanes that come here from Africa. On those. But I got to think, I was like, what if the world was ending? I don't think any of us would know anymore, because some scientists would come out and tell us the world is ending and tell us why, and then automatically someone on the other side would call them an idiot.
And say, don't look up.
And tell them how wrong we are. And then all of us would go, and then it would become political, and all of us would go,
they made a whole movie about that.
Yeah, no.
I was going to say, yeah.
It would become political, and we go, none of it's real, ignore it all, and then we all die. Like that's what's going to happen. So like we just ignore things. Like things get thrown out there, and we start to ignore it, no matter what.
That is exactly the exact plot of Don't Look Up.
Yes. And that's the world we live in. And it horrifies me. Anyways, going back to some of these answers, which were pretty good. Jason Creekmore said, support conservation of the popular animals that share our animals' habitats. Unfortunately, while they get the most funding, it will also help ours in the long run.
And that is why we chose Rainforest Alliance, right? Because, I mean, Rainforest Alliance does not specifically call out reptiles and amphibians, but they do a lot of work with like larger animals in those ecosystems. And so if you're supporting habitat for jaguars or monkeys or, you know, stuff like that, you're also conserving habitat. Like a big cat is going to take up a lot more area than I don't know, a redfoot tortoise or a tree frog or something like that. So, you know, yeah, sure, support the conservation of big cats, because you're also going to support the conservation of everything else underneath it. So
I'd love to read Rufus Darden's reply, but it's super long. So knock my headphones off. Just go over there and read. It's a very good one. Rufus, you listen to this. It's a very good reply. But all of them saying the same kind of thing. You can make a difference. You just got to choose how you make a difference and look out there. Like I said, here's an easy one. You're going to buy coffee anyways. It's going to make a difference. We always talk about giving to USARC, or whenever you go to a show and there's anybody there with some sort of charitable. Now, do some research on some of these, but most of these things that if it's well known in the hobby, the research has been done. You can kind of trust it.
I genuinely think that people try to do their best. And
yes,
you know, I don't think that anybody is purposefully like, yeah, go cut down the rainforest, woohoo, you know, get rid of them things.
God, I would hope not.
but you know, we do it inadvertently by our actions, you know, and it's just an education thing. It's just, that's why I enjoy coming on these podcasts and talking about that kind of stuff, because I don't think people think about it as you go about your daily life. I know I make mistakes. I know, you know, I drank out of a plastic cup or something, you know. I'm not as, you know, I'm not all natural, eco-friendly as I would like to be, but you know, it's about trying to do better every day and making conscious decisions about the things that I'm buying or the things that I'm throwing away and things like that. So,
well, you talk about coffee from Madagascar. That's another one. If we just show people pictures of Madagascar from like 30 years ago to now, like I don't think people understand when we say the rainforest is being cut down. I don't think people get the visual of that.
Right.
You know, and then they watch Madagascar, the movie, and some cute lemurs running around and a zebra and all that. And it's wonderful. But then you show them the island, like, look, half the island's rainforest is fucking gone. Just gone.
Yeah. And the soil is ripped pretty well too. I mean, you know, it's not even worth really growing a whole lot anymore. Like I can't even get coffee out of Madagascar because coffee doesn't grow super well in Madagascar anymore because it's so stripped out.
Yeah.
Wow.
So, yeah.
So that's like I said, this education is the big thing. Look, as a teacher, I see it all the time, and I'm horrified at I'm horrified at how little people are educated, and then when they are educated, how much they are unwilling to believe it.
Yeah,
like I've had kids, like I'll teach them something, and they literally go, "Well, how do you know?" I'm like, well, "I just told you how we know. There's a whole reason of why we know this. Like, you don't just get to ignore it. Like, it exists." So that's why I always tell people the great thing about science is you don't have to believe in it for it to happen.
Yeah. If you don't believe me, or if you're really interested in reading about, because coffee has a very, again, tumultuous history. Like it's not something that has gone well for most people in its existence. There's a couple of really good books. I've got a few of them back behind me. So Uncommon Grounds is a really nice history of coffee. If you're really a coffee nerd and you want to dig into it, it's a great book. Make Better Coffee. It's a great book as well. It's about the specialty coffee industry. Well, the coffee history of the Mayan people in Guatemala. Very interesting book. So if you want to learn more about what coffee has done to these places in the past, it'll open your eyes. It'll make you think twice about what you're going to buy on the shelf. Again, not saying that you buy my stuff, but it's more just an education thing to learn from the mistakes that people have made and to try and do better, you know, when we're making purchasing decisions going forward.
What was the name of that book?
Which one?
The one that you were just talking about.
Oh, sorry, I said two. Uncommon Grounds is one. It's more about a history of coffee.
Okay.
It's a deep dive. You'll sludge through a lot of stuff, but it's a great book. And then Make Better Coffee, Making Better Coffee by Edward Fisher. That's the one about the Mayan people and
Okay. How Maya
Guatemala.
farmers in third. Yeah, I found it.
Yeah.
I was going to post links on our Facebook, so
Yeah.
if anybody was interested, they had them. So.
Well, it's a sad thing that it's human nature that we have to wait for things to be so messed up before we care. You know, like you with palm oil, we have to wait until we see a sad orangutan
Don't get me
like clinging
started on
onto a
that.
tree and dying before people are like, oh, hey, we should probably start thinking about that.
Yeah.
Right. It's easier for that. Like, yes, if they save that, they will save the reptiles. Because if we show them a picture of a snake that no longer has somewhere, people are going to be like, that's fine. We can kill them anyways. It's okay. So you do kind of have to cling on to the other animals that people will be willing to help. But I wanted to share our discussion page. Let me pull it up on the screen. It's been a while since we've gone over it, and there's
I'm fixing a post on it right now.
I was going to go through several of the things that got posted on it real quick. Going through. What the hell is that? Jack post. It's a crocheted.
Oh,
They're
yeah.
crocheted frogs,
Mhm.
rain frogs. Okay, that's interesting. You can buy yourself a crocheted rain frog. Those little things are weird. One of our listeners, looks like went herping, found corn snakes. Just trying to go through. There's a lot. Oh, I posted this one. I found it was the Purple Toad Winery. Anybody see anything wrong with the picture?
Yeah. Where's that located?
Kentucky.
Other than the.
But that's a it's a red-eyed tree frog on
Yeah, I
there.
know.
Purple
I know.
Toad Winery. Like, did no one think like when they made that?
Toad.
Hey, this thing's not purple or a toad.
Or a toad.
This guy got bit. It says antivenom from a copperhead bite could cost him $50,000 along with IC. Antivenom is expensive.
I got bit by a timber 2 years ago. Yeah. 50,000. I would have been happy with that.
Oh man.
Yikes.
Yeah.
That is crazy. Which is crazy because like we've had several other people on here who deal with the Venomous Bite Foundation and stuff like in Africa. And that shit's way cheaper. But here in America, it can't be. It's got to be outrageous because
We're America.
great medical programs we have here.
Yeah. I got bit. The doctor came in and said, you got good insurance? And I was like, yeah, it's fine. And they were like, okay, good. Because I gave you 10 of these and they were $10,000 a piece.
Holy
I was
shit.
like, okay, cool.
So, like, could you
So
talk
my
to me
house.
first?
Well, that's what he said. He was like, okay. I was like, well, okay, cool. They was like, yeah, we do it by weight. And I was like, well, there's some incentive to lose some weight. You would have given me a heads up. I would have gotten to work on that.
You should have been like, could we have
Yeah.
tried 5 and see if like maybe it just took a little longer? Like,
Jeez, man. Yeah.
oh,
Makes my stomach hurt.
so our
Not a good way to spend a weekend, just in
That
case
would be
anybody was
horrible.
wondering.
Chris Sanchez said he got called for a snake nest in someone's yard, and it's a little skink that laid some eggs on the ground.
Oh.
I don't know what
Babies.
I don't know what I shared here, but now it no longer is viewable.
Mm.
Whatever it was probably good. Colubrid Fest, September 27th, 28th, and 29th in Indiana Convention Center. So if you like rat snakes, head over to Colubrid Fest, which is apparently also the Show Me Show. Okay. Speaking of fest, Carpet Fest, Texas Carpet Fest is Katie.
Let me look at my calendar. Hang
I
on.
thought you had the date on top.
Not on the top of my head. I know the weekend before that is Wildlife Conservation Day, and
That's
I have
here.
a meeting about that Friday. October 19th.
October 19th is Texas
Just
Carpet
Saturday.
Fest. It's at Reptilandia. If you have a chance to come make that trip, going to Reptilandia alone is worth it. That place.
Oh
is
yeah.
Freaking amazing. We talked about Ari earlier with the coffee. Go see a Bolin's python. They've got them. $10,000 snake. Katie posted a picture of a spider from camp.
Oh, fun story. One of the people on leadership, they were like, "Hey, what is this spider that was in her bathroom?" She was like, so far it's staying on its side of the bathroom and it doesn't come into my side of the bathroom. Do I need to remove it? Is it dangerous? And so I was like, I don't know. Let me post.
It was how was it?
It's a fishing spider. Yeah.
I knew it wasn't a wolf spider. Which,
She ended
speaking
up
of wolf spiders. So we had a package on
Oh,
our doorstep
geez.
last night from Amazon when we got home from
Timu.
From Timu. My bad. Same difference. You picked up the package and walked in, and we looked down, and there was a wolf spider, and all 7 trillion of her babies just scattered across the front
Yeah.
porch.
Apparently she was under the bag.
Yeah.
I picked the bag up and shook it in case there was like a cockroach or something on it. Because since all the rain we've had, they've been hanging out around the porch and I don't like it. So but I never even saw the spider until Joe like freaked out when she saw it all.
Yeah. We missed World Snake Day. It was July 16th.
Mhm.
So there's pictures of snakes in Georgia.
You know, I did not see the first snake at camp this summer.
I have no idea what this video is about. But
None of them.
she's holding. Oh, it's saying, can you spot the difference between a good snake and a bad snake? And she's just showing snakes. Got it.
No.
Oh, I posted this one. Bryce Harper and the my brain went blank. All-Star game
Yeah,
had a reptile themed sleeve on.
that's cool.
Just thought it was interesting. Oh, this woman's an idiot. So this is a video of a woman who is strapping her toilet seat shut, clogging every drain in her house. All of this.
She live in Australia?
No.
Oh.
Because she had a friend that said that they had an alligator come up their toilet, which I do not believe in the slightest.
Not at all.
I've seen a toilet and I've seen baby alligators. I'm just saying it didn't get up there.
Nope.
But the baby alligator's not coming through your sink faucet. So just stupid people. Stupid people.
That was funny. The cartoon you just went by.
She's
got curves for days. I thought it was funny.
This person had a basilisk lizard run across a pool, which would be cool to see in person. Just to see
That
a
would be
Jesus
neat.
lizard. What else do we have? Oh, glass lizards. There's a glass lizard from Louisiana. Glass lizards are a cool one. There's a big ass alligator gar that unfortunately got killed. I love alligator gar. Here you go. This is weird. That is a blind snake, which we found when we went to where were we, Robert?
Austin.
Austin. At the Austin show was the first time I saw a blind snake.
We went hiking.
Looks like a worm.
You mean two pieces of shit. No, sorry.
That is true.
I was there.
What-
Thank you.
Okay. You weren't the piece
Besides,
of shit.
oh, yeah,
I'm
you
not.
were there the second day. That's right.
Apparently this is still the difference between a North American racer and an Eastern rat snake. One looks like it's judging you. If it looks like it's judging you, it's a racer.
Yeah.
Or a coach whip. They're very
Pretty
judgy
much.
faces.
They do have judgy faces.
What the fuck is that? There's a sea snake swallowing a moray eel.
Jeez.
That's
I was not on Facebook a lot while I was at camp
That
because
is-
I had little to no cell signal or internet.
what's impressive is the moray eel's alive, and I've seen moray eels up close in person. They're a scary ass thing, and that snake's like, screw you, just gonna eat you. God, that is horrifying. Oh, Fort Worth Zoo had gar eels born.
That's exciting.
That is exciting. That's a cool one. Gar eels. That's another one that is in the wild, needs to be saved. Dun, 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 dun. Oh, that was funny. Leeches on a turtle. That's just gross. Although we talked about leeches on our last episode at Conroe.
With Hayden.
I had several folks message me on the Discord. By the way, if you're not in our Discord out there, join our Discord. They agreed with me. Leeches are fucking weird, and leech people are weird anyways.
Mhm.
And then some post about some baby boas born by somebody.
Oh my gosh.
Although we apparently double posted that one. You
I
posted-
didn't realize that you had posted.
Oh, I'm gonna post.
I know you were, but I thought I was helping you out because you were like elbow deep in goo at that
I
point.
was elbow. So I just throw this out there for the people that I get judged by
So much.
egg laying
It's
breeders.
so much. I'm here for it.
One, the goo does not smell horrible.
I don't think it does smell bad, and I'm very sensitive
And
to
it
the
is-
smells that come out of that
And it
snake
is
room.
the best part of getting baby boas.
I don't know if I go that far,
You're wrong. A giant
but-
pile of goo is freaking amazing.
It's gross.
Our buddy Jason Miloradovich, the same day, ended up having a litter of T positive Brazilian rainbow boas born. He came
Oh yeah.
home and he also had boas born. So those are cool.
You also require that it be a family experience in
Yes.
the snake room when babies are born, and
Everyone's
we
gotta be
all
there.
have to be in there while
Everyone's
you
gotta be there.
sort them out.
Well, because I need help too. Because when I start putting them in a tub,
This
They don't
was a
sit
very
still.
chill group, though. There were only like two. They're
They-
not anymore.
they're not chill anymore. I can tell you
Yeah.
that now. I've opened that tub many times now. They have lost all chill.
Yeah, they're choosing violence.
So this was Travis. Travis Wyman has ball python eggs that are going past the date. And so there's a meme where someone says,
Really funny.
take matters in their own hands, start cutting eggs open.
He did not do that.
He did
For
not do
those
that.
of you
Travis
listening,
did not do
it was
that.
just funny.
Uh,
Nakia, it's not that I don't love baby snakes. It's just that the shock and awe of it only lasts for about 3 minutes for me. And then I'm like, okay, it's your job.
How
You
can they
take
shock
care
and
of
awe?
it.
They're babies.
They're cute.
There were 27
and it's cool.
baby boas.
But it's your thing, not mine.
It doesn't matter whose thing it is. It's amazing.
I had a car to unload.
This is a cool video. Domestic beetles eating away at a snake all the way down to the skeleton. That's always really,
That is pretty neat.
always really cool.
I like time lapse videos, period.
Well, it's like that one dude on
So-
YouTube whose entire channel is just time lapse of mealworms eating shit.
Yeah.
You,
I think it's cool.
I'm upset that I didn't come up with that.
Yeah.
I have access to large amounts of mealworms. I'm very upset that I didn't come up. And he's got an entire YouTube channel on that. Anyways, that was all the stuff.
million followers, I think, too.
Yeah. I did post, you didn't scroll up far enough or refresh your page, but I did post both of the books that Trey mentioned because I know a lot of our readers are interested in that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Books. Who needs books? I mean, I've got an entire bookshelf. I haven't read any of them, but books
You have read some of them.
like 3. I think I've read.
You've listened to me read a lot of the kid
I've looked at the
books.
pictures. I've definitely looked at the pictures, and I've definitely made sure they don't say poison.
I've used these books in education programs that you've been in the room with. So by
counts.
default, you've listened to them being read.
So William said, I've heard the goo isn't smelly from a lot of boa. Yeah, it's not smelly.
I don't think it is.
But every egg layer person is like, oh, it smells horrible. I'm like, what are you talking about? There's no, unless like you catch the boas like 3 days after they've been born. Then
That's disgusting.
that's
And
probably
you
gonna
need
smell
to
bad.
take better care of your pregnant snakes.
But yeah, I love goo.
Maybe not quite as intense as James's and checking every 20 minutes, but love you.
Checking every 20 minutes means I caught her in mid giving birth.
Oh my God.
I got to go watch it.
I've heard this story so many times.
So Trey, what all do you, I mean, do you have time to keep anymore now that you're,
I do, yeah. So I have pared down my collection quite a bit, but right now I keep mostly like a larger colubrid stuff. I keep false waters. I keep Chinese king rats, bull snakes, some like beauty snakes. So I've got.
so you're cool with stuff trying to kill you?
Oh, I love stuff trying to like that stuff eats. Like I don't have to worry about it, you know. I mean, it's going to eat me or the rat, either one. But no, I dig it.
Are you a glove guy? Do you use gloves when you handle
No.
stuff?
No,
Fuck off, Katie.
It
No.
was a genuine question.
I use gloves.
no, no. I mean, I do. I'll hook stuff out. Like I'm not
Yes.
going into my false, like my adult falsies, and just like, hey, how's it going? You know.
You don't want an angry 7 or 8 foot false water cobra trying to eat you?
No, not really, you know. But yeah, and then I keep like I've gotten really big into some day geckos lately. So, you know, I very different, you know, giant colubrids that poop 3 times a day and teeny tiny, like I do like the Williams eye, the electric blue
Yeah.
day geckos. I've got some like gold dusts and yeah, some little geckos that
Little
I've gotten
geckos that
really
like to
into.
that like to hide on the other side of cork bark whenever you try to look at them.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, you know, pretty much the same thing as, you know, my big colubrids and, you know, whatever. Yeah. And then I've got some rosy boas. I like rosy boas.
I like rosy boas.
And I've got some like crebos and a pair of crebos and a pair of indigos. And that's about it.
Yeah, so you got like a whole bunch of things that will just eat like chicken legs and fish
Yeah.
fillets and
Yeah. It's like my grocery trips look really weird. Like people like I'll check out at the grocery store and, you know, I've got redfoots and I've got an aldabra and I've got a fly river and a
I love how you just like
Whoa!
glance over.
Sorry,
the
sorry.
Toss that aldabra out like it's
Redfoots,
not a
aldabras,
big
move
deal.
on.
yeah, I have an aldabra and I have so I mean she's I don't know.
It
4
doesn't
or 5
matter
4
how
or
big
5
or
years
how
old.
small she is. You have one.
Yeah, I have one. I have a fly river turtle who's
Cool.
pretty big. I've got a Cuban rock iguana. Just one of those, a male. He's pretty cool. But my grocery trips are weird. So I've got all the vegetarian stuff. So I look super healthy as I'm checking out at the grocery store. But then I also got like frog legs and tilapia, like stacks of tilapia and stuff. Checking out at the grocery store.
It's like a super weird
Like,
diet.
I'm really high
going
on protein and
Yeah.
veggies, guys.
That's right. That's it.
Oh my
And
gosh.
then like 13 bags of chips for me.
Yep.
This guy's yeah. So yeah, I mean, I've got a fairly diverse collection. I haven't actually, funny enough, I haven't bred anything in like 3 years. I used to breed stuff and sell stuff at trade shows. I haven't bred anything in like 3 years, except for like earlier this week. I got a pair of morning geckos. We were in Schaumburg, in ARBC Schaumburg a couple weeks ago, and I picked up a pair of morning geckos, and the morning geckos have already started laying eggs. And so that's the first thing that I've bred. I don't know if you can count morning geckos as breeding, but that's the first thing I bred in like 3 years. So yeah, it's fun to have eggs again. But
I have apparently become really good at breeding cichlids by doing absolutely fucking nothing.
Oh my God.
And my female just constantly having babies.
Yep.
We started out with 4 and they're gigantic
babies
after
got
the
bigger.
3 weeks
But
that
now
I
her
left.
new litter is like 6.
Yeah. We're going to have to find some homes for some of these.
Same for our
I like yellow fish, but I don't want it overrun
There's
with
thinking.
yellow fish.
yellowfish.
Oh.
And then our Spanish rib newts. We've got a ton of Spanish rib newt babies. We got
And they're all finally big enough to where I'm comfortable with them going to new homes. They've lost some of them have lost their gills. So now you got to really jack them up to mess them up. And they're not as sensitive to everything.
yeah, and
and
they're better than axolotl.
they're much more hardy than axolotls.
I forgot about the stuff that's literally sitting in the room with me. So we do have some we have animals. I'm at our office still. So we do have animals in the roasting facility kind of as ambassador stuff. So I have a frilled dragon, a Honduran milk snake, some rhino rats, northern blue tongue, southern pine snake, and giant fat bearded dragon.
So you got to fill that entire office up with things that come from places where your coffee comes from.
That's what I was working on, and then it's a lot of as a reptile keeper, because I had to explain this to people. I had this whole room full of stuff, like it was just a big lobby of all these animals, and then I was like, I'm done with this. Like because we have people come into the office, for like business meetings and stuff, and I clean the cages every morning, and then it's inevitable that something just smeared all over the front of the glass right before somebody was supposed to come in
of course
for a meeting, and I've got new customers trying, wholesale clients or something coming in, and I've got snake just crap all over.
I hope that coffee smell covers the snake smell.
All right, we gotta I keep my stuff clean, but good gracious, like I can't do anything about that. And so I was like, okay,
yes,
I'm gonna keep stuff that's like more like my blue tongue isn't gonna smear the front of its enclosure, stuff that's a little bit more tame. The big colubrid stuff went back home. So
one of my favorite things is we have a bunch of animals in my classroom. One is a corn snake, and it never fails. She will always go to the bathroom like right after we start, and the smell will just like waft throughout the classroom, and you can like watch the table groups as it hits their table.
She's sitting right there.
I know, my sweet Luna. But yeah, the kids are always like, we can stop our lesson and we can take care of this. Like, let's just clean it up now. I'm like, sorry guys, I'll do it later.
No, I have my frilled dragon that's right next to me. He every time I'm sitting here, I'm surprised if you guys haven't heard it. He'll scratch the glass wanting food, so he'll just come up and just.
That's what I forgot to bring up there.
Blue tongue food.
I did.
You're sitting right here. Give me food.
Yes, normally the blue tongue is at the bottom of the cage over here.
I cleaned its food bowl. It's ready for food.
That's what I forgot to bring.
I'm sure that blue tongue is really gonna starve to death.
I mean, he looks a little chunky, so I think he'll be okay.
So. All right. I think we've covered all things that I wanted to cover. Coffee, tea, the donations. I think it's all there. If people want to reach out to you, if they want to buy coffee, if they want to talk to you about any of that, how can they get a hold of you?
Yeah, so you can check out our website at coldbloodedcaffeine.com. Caffeine is CAFFEINE. So it breaks
I had a hard time
rules.
spelling that. It's a hard word to spell.
Why?
Breaks all the rules.
It's the I before E thing not being it, and then you're like,
Oh.
why is there an E there in the first place?
Sneaky. Yeah.
Why do you need
So
two F's?
coldbloodedcaffeine.com. You can check us out Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, all under Cold Blooded Caffeine. We do trade shows, so we do all the NARBC shows. We'll be at NARBC Dallas coming up in September, Tinley Park in October, doing Animal Con in Orlando in October, and then I think St. Louis in November. So if you're in any of those areas, come by, say hello, check us out. We'll have bags of coffee for sale, as well as we do brewed coffee at those events. So if you want to try our coffee, yeah. And if you want to email us, I don't know, if you get tired of seeing my face on Instagram, you can email us info@coldbloodedcaffeine.com. So yeah,
Go buy
all
some
the
coffee.
stuff.
If you're a coffee drinker or a tea drinker, because there's tea. Look, we talked about there's like 6-7 different types of tea. There's a mango tea, which sounds awesome. Go buy a bag or 2 or 3 or 4, because you're going to buy that stuff anyways from somewhere. At least make a difference in your own hobby. So go check them out. For us, if you need to get a hold of us, it's the Reptile Gumbo podcast on Instagram. I forget. Facebook. It's been forever since I've done this. Just go search the Reptile Gumbo podcast. We're the only one. Just go find us at gmail.com if you need to email us. I guess I can plug myself since I never do that. Simply Serpents. Go check out Simply Serpents. I'm going to have baby boas available in like a month and a half.
Please don't ask us about them until at least the end of September.
Please wait till
y'all.
they eat. Like, seriously, wait till they eat like 4 or 5 times before you're like, hey, I want to buy one.
Because you may not think it's a big deal, but he is going to bitch and complain about it to me.
Well, it's not that.
And
It's just
I don't want to hear
the
it.
minute someone's like, hey, I want to buy that one's not going to fucking eat.
I didn't think about that.
So don't do that to me. Don't make my
Don't put that out there.
Just let me get 4 or 5 meals.
First person that I ever heard that wants to sell snakes complaining that people want to buy your snakes.
I know.
I'm not going to they want to buy them. I just need them to wait until they're ready. Wait until they're ready. I promise you, if you buy a snake from me, it will have eaten 4 or 5 times consecutively without taking it off. If anybody wants a one-eyed snake, I'm probably it's probably not.
Let's not phrase it that way.
It's like it's a white one-eyed snake, and that's probably.
Jesus, James.
Anyways, it's gonna need a home at some point too. So check us out. Check out Herb's Reptile Shows, Lil's Shop of Horrors. Again, if you need a UVB LED bulb, go check out VivTech products. Use code Gumbo22. Go join our Discord. The link is over on our Facebook page. Discord is always going off. It's driving Katie nuts because she can always hear it going off on the phone. But tons of conversations over there in Discord. Our listener Sujak from the Netherlands is always posting about his raptors. By raptors, I mean he has emus. Who the fuck buys emus? Like, they're adorable as babies, but those things will kill you as a dog.
Isn't that what Douglas Ray White wanted?
Yeah, and it would have killed him. That's why he's not allowed to have one. Because we would have seen man in Louisiana killed by emu.
I talked to Doug today.
Did you? Still don't have an
First
emu,
one
right?
talked to him in a while, yeah.
Miss Douglas Ray White. Great guy. So, anyways, we will be back next week. Trey, hang out for a second. Everybody else, we will see you next week.
Bye.
Bye. They can still